Oh, hi. I just want to make sure that everything's working. Can you guys hear me? I'm very new at this, so please forgive me if things get wonky.
Are people showing up?
I,
It says it will begin in
okay, perfect. Okay, so I have confirmation that I can be heard. Great. Okay, so I guess let's get this thing started. Welcome to my live stream. I will be first answering questions that I got like over and over again in the comments on my YouTube video that I posted in May that then just suddenly blew up. And then if anybody has any questions for me at the end, then it'll be kind of a free-for-all. So let's see what happens. Alrighty, let me, on my trusty notes app, pull up the questions that I have saved. So I have about 5 saved, like pre-prepared, but anyway, okay. So the first one, lots of people wanted me to talk about the day that the video blew up. So like I said, I posted the initial video on May 1st, which was the 19th anniversary of being found. And oh my gosh, my friends. Hi, Kelly. Sorry, I got distracted. And sorry. So I posted the video on the 19th anniversary of being found, just because I had the free time and I kind of wanted to commemorate it. And I got, a couple thousand views. Mostly it was like through Facebook, people I know, and then it kind of expanded exponentially from there a little bit. And that was all I really expected. I didn't expect it to blow up. I mostly made it just to like have a place where I told it so that like if people asked me about it, I could sort of direct them to the video instead of having to, tell the whole story every single time. And so, yeah, 8 months ago. And then all of a sudden, New Year's Day, I start getting all of these new Instagram followers. And I'm like, okay, weird. I don't think I posted anything that would drive this. I don't really know where this is coming from. And then I start getting messages on Instagram and people are like, hey, have you seen the video that Mr. Ballin, I'm sorry, posted about your story? And I was like, what? No. So I had absolutely no idea that he was going to cover my story. And so then I went to watch it and it was very surprising. I really appreciate him covering my story, and I really appreciate that he linked my video in his version of the story. But yeah, it was extremely shocking for me, and I kind of wasn't prepared for it. So I was a little bit blindsided, but I do appreciate that he covered it. And yeah, it was just kind of a crazy like day and a half as like all of these comments started streaming in on the original video. And like, I think I gained like 75 new Instagram followers in a day, which was very weird for me. But I appreciate that people are reaching out and are interested in my story. And, I'm very flattered, I suppose. So thank you all for reaching out, and thank you for watching this live stream. I really didn't expect to be doing this, but yeah, here we are. Okay, so the next question, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling a lot, but my mind is just kind of all over the place all the time. Okay, the next question I have written is, have you been back out to where you went missing? And I mentioned this in my video, but I do go out there really regularly, like at least once a year, if not more than that. I love showing it off anytime like I meet a new person that comes to Arkansas that I'm like friends with, or, I want to show them the waterfall. I want to show them the crag. I'm very proud of the Ozarks and very proud of the beauty that we have in the natural state. So yeah, I go back out all the time, and I love camping and hiking and just being out in nature. It's like one of the best things ever. So yeah, I go back out all the time. Sorry, my phone Okay. Okay, here's one that I got a couple of times. Why did you wait so long to tell the story? Why now? Okay, I don't really see, personally, it doesn't feel like I waited a long time to tell the story because I have been telling the story my entire life. I guess I did wait kind of a long time to like put it on YouTube, but as I kind of mentioned in the video, I did do like interviews with Dateline. I did interviews, like there's a book written about it. I've done multiple media interviews over the years. So like, it doesn't really feel like I waited a long time. Part of the reason that I posted it, like I mentioned earlier, I posted it on May 1st, which is the anniversary, the 19th anniversary of being found. And it was partly because of the pandemic. I just kind of had a lot of free time and figured, hey, you know what? Like, I've never told it in my own words in like video format. So no time like the present, I guess. Yeah. And like I said, it doesn't feel like it's that I waited a long time, but I guess to some it would seem that way. All right. So I think this is kind of what you guys are all waiting for, the reason that you tuned in. You guys want me to talk more about Alicia. I cannot tell you how many questions, oh my Lord, how many questions that I've gotten about this topic in particular. And the thing that I kind of want to say before I get into it is that you have to remember it's been almost 20 years since I went missing. It'll be 20 years in April. And I was 6 when I went missing. So while my memories are very good, they're not perfect. And I think part of the reason that they're so good is because I've told the story so many times, told it over and over and over again. And that kind of helps refresh my memory. But again, it's been 20 years and I was a little kid. So yeah, I can tell you as much as I know, but it's also a very personal story. So please understand that like there might be some things I don't really want to talk about. And you know, it's my story. So I can say that. So, okay, the first thing people ask me like how she appeared and like if I thought that she was like a real physical person. And someone asked me how I knew that she was different from the hallucinations that I talked about having later on. So I knew, like, even in the middle of the ordeal, I knew that she was not physically with me. Like, I knew that she wasn't like another missing child physically with me. And I just like instantly just thought of her as an imaginary friend. But again, I was 6, I was a child. So like, I didn't logically, like, I wasn't analyzing it, if that makes sense. And she was with me from like the moment that I realized that I was missing, the moment that I realized like, okay, this is a bad situation. Like, I'm lost in the woods. Which is how I know that it's different than the hallucinations that I was having later, because those didn't appear until like the 2nd and 3rd day, when I was like starting to become really, really dehydrated, when I was starting to starve a little bit. Like, those were a separate phenomena that was caused by my physical exhaustion. And so, yeah, like it was distinct in my mind, if that makes sense. She didn't appear like a quote unquote like stereotypical ghost. Like, she wasn't like transparent. She wasn't, I don't know, like if that makes sense. She was not ghostly. But at the same time, she wasn't like a physical, like I couldn't reach out and like touch her, if that makes sense. And she didn't appear like in a blaze of light, like an angel. I don't know. There's not a good way to really describe it other than like, she was an imaginary friend. And a lot of people ask me why I don't want to define her as like a ghost or an angel or a alien or whatever. And part of the reason is I don't consider myself a terribly religious person. I'm more spiritual. I don't really want to get into my own belief system really here, but it doesn't feel right. Like I can't definitively say what this being or presence was because I can't pretend like I know everything about the physical world and by extension of that, the like metaphysical world. So it feels wrong to say like, I know definitively that this was an angel. I know definitively that this was a ghost. I've always referred to her as an imaginary friend, and I always will. And, you know, she could have been like a psychological phenomenon. That's totally possible. I don't really know much about psychology. To me, it's not important. And I know that that's frustrating because there are so many people that are here for like the paranormal side of things. And I totally get that. I love ghost stories. Don't get me wrong. But I'm sorry to disappoint you if that is disappointing indeed. But honestly, like I'm never going to define it. And I'm sorry. So yeah, let's see. I got asked, and I thought I had mentioned this in the last video, but I guess not. I got asked a lot, what did you eat? What did you drink? Nothing and nothing. I think I told my mom, and she's here actually with me. So if you guys have questions for my mom at the end, she said she's willing to answer them. But I think I told her that I drank spit. Yeah, okay, she's nodding. So
She said spit.
Oh, spit. My apologies. I drank spit. But yeah, I didn't eat anything because I didn't know what was safe to eat, and same at the river. But I didn't drink any of the water because I wasn't sure if it was safe. Okay. Yeah, I guess I kind of answered all of these other ones in that whole long spiel I just went on. So, yeah, if anybody needs some like clarification, or if you guys have your own questions, I guess now is the time to ask them. Yeah, so I guess I'll just see if anybody has any questions. Thanks for tuning in. Oh. How accurate was Mr. Ballins' video? Did he get anything wrong? Okay. I truly do not want to I do appreciate that he covered my story. Absolutely. That was amazing. And I really love that he got it out to a wider audience. How, yes, he did get some details wrong. For one, I think he said I made it to the river on the second day. I definitely made it to the river on the first day. And I slept not on a bluff, but on a rock in the middle of the river. And he also, I don't know, the details that he got, a little wonky aren't exactly detrimental to the story, even if they're not incredibly accurate. He also said that I had a debriefing with the police, which I don't think I did. And I asked both my mom and my dad, and they both said that they don't remember me talking to the cops about what happened. The cops came and talked to me and just essentially said we're so glad you were found, and I guess gave me a teddy bear, but I don't remember having an actual debriefing with the police officers, I guess. How did the people find you? I was found by two men on mules. William Jeff Vallins and Lytle James found me. And I go into more detail in the original video on how they found me, but essentially they were really familiar with the area that I was missing in, and they kind of broke off from the official search party because they thought that they might be able to find me that way. And they did. They were the ones who actually ultimately found me. So, and then so they found me by the river, and they gave me chocolate pudding and Diet Coke. And then they put me on one of the mules. And I think the mules, one of them was named Big Mama, but I can't remember what the other one was named. I'm ever writing a donkey or a horse or anything like that. So, okay, let's see. Why did you go to the river? I don't know. I was following Alicia, essentially. I mean, once I got to the river, it was great. I had a plan, but I don't even know that I knew that there was a river to get to, honestly. Like, I was young enough that I don't know that I actually realized that there was a river. We've got a question for you, Mummy, if you want to answer it. This is my mom.
Hi. Let's see. The question is, if you feel comfortable, how did I manage and cope while Haley was missing? It was surreal. And I don't think that there's really anything that can prepare you for a situation like that. It's just impossible. Emotions and things that you're going to go through. But we were very lucky, Haley's dad and I, to have just this incredible group of friends who immediately rallied around us. And we also had an enormous amount of assistance from a nature photographer who lives right near the trailhead where Haley was lost. His name is Tim Ernst. And Tim essentially turned over his cabin and allowed us to invade his home for 3 days and just gave us every form of support and help that we could have possibly asked for. So, we were just surrounded by people who loved us, our family. Everybody was just there, and we knew how hard everybody was working to try to do everything right. And so we just kept hope the whole entire time. But I'm not going to say that difficult. We tried to keep a strong face during the day when the searchers were out, and we were seeing people coming and going and dealing with media and law enforcement and all of that. But at night, not pretty. That's when the emotions would really start to flow. So it was hard, but I just had faith in Haley's intelligence and her resolve. And I didn't know at 6 years old that she was as strong as she was, but she proved me right in believing that she's very capable and very able to handle herself. And so I always say she's a tough little boot. she's a strong person. And that gave me hope that she would come through it okay.
Thank you.
You're back.
All right. Okay. So there you go. Do you ever get tired of having to tell and retell your story? Do you ever wish you could move on from the whole ordeal, or do you like the attention? I guess I kind of go through phases of getting tired of it. I mean, I understand people's curiosity, and I mean, I'm 25, almost 26. So I've been telling this story for almost my entire life. And I think when I was little, I did get to kind of when everything was still at a fever pitch, I did get to the point where I did not want to talk about it anymore. And I don't think, I don't think of myself as it doesn't define me. It's something that happened to me that, has had a huge impact on who I am as a person, but it's only a piece of me. So, yeah, I guess part of the reason that I actually made the video in the first place was so that I didn't have to keep telling the story in detail over and over again. I could just kind of direct people to that. But at the same time, yeah, I understand that people are curious. And so I'm not ever going to get mad at someone for asking me to tell them the story. In terms of, do I like the attention? I think I would prefer to get attention for other things, I guess. I am an actor. I went to school for acting. So I would love, I love attention for my artistic accomplishments rather than this thing that happened to me 20 years ago, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Do you remember the nights well? Yeah. Okay. Even as an adult, let alone as a child, I'd imagine that would be terrifying, even being pitch black and hearing everything being pitch black and hearing animal noises. So interestingly, I never heard any animal noises. I never really saw any animals except for some birds. I do remember the first night and the second night pretty well. I don't remember much about the first night and the second night. Yeah, those were the nights. Sorry, I have my timeline screwed up a little bit. I remember the first night I could actually see lights on the mountains surrounding me, so I knew that there were people out there, and I could see I guess from their houses, there are people that live in those mountains. They're very few and far between, but I could see those lights. But yeah, it was very dark and I was very alone, but I was I knew I was in a bad situation, but I was too young to realize how bad, if that makes sense. I wasn't super scared, but I knew it was a bad situation, if that makes sense. Mr. Ballins said in his video that Alicia told you stories and jokes. What stories, and do you remember any jokes? I don't remember any jokes. I'm pretty sure the stories were fairy tales, Cinderella, Snow White, the kind of fairy tales that a child would react well to, comforting stories that are, kid stories. I think, if I don't really remember, the only thing that I really concretely remember, I remember playing patty cake. But beyond that, I don't remember specifically what we talked about very much. My mom asked a question. She said, how did you comfort yourself when you were lost? So at that point I was in kindergarten and I was still carrying around a blankie, and that was my comfort object, but I didn't have my blankie out in the woods. And so I took off one of my socks and I was using that as a blankie. And that was my comfort object. Yeah. Let's see. What was it like returning to school and normal life afterwards? It was surreal. I didn't go back to school. What was it for a week or 2 weeks?
Yeah, it was about a week or 10 days.
A week to 10 days. I didn't go back to school. I was at home and it was insane. I remember there was media camped out on our front lawn in front of our house, which was wild. And our house was full of flowers and toys and stuff from well-wishers. And it was all very surreal. And I remember two of my best friends at the time coming to visit me. And yeah, it was crazy. And once I got back to school, I was kind of a minor celebrity. And obviously I think that my teachers had kind of probably told my fellow students not to bug me too much, but obviously kids are really curious. And so people did ask, but for the most part, it did eventually die down. The 15 minutes of fame thing is true. And kids move on from stuff really quick. And once you explain something to them, they're kind of oh, okay. And then they just move on. And so life did return to normal. How do you think this experience has shaped you as a person? Okay. It's hard to say because I was so young when this happened to me that I don't know how I would have turned out differently if this hadn't happened. But I think I'm a very adventurous, gregarious person. And I know I have a lot of faith in myself in terms of I know that I can go through really, really hard things and come out the other side. And so I'm not afraid of life, I guess is a way to say that, because something crazy and, I don't know, bonkers happened to me as a really little kid and I came through the other side of it. And so, I will always know that I can do difficult things and I'm not afraid to take chances and I'm not afraid to do things by myself. I'm very self-reliant, I guess, if that makes sense. Does your mom have any opinions about who or what Alicia was?
And I'm back. I've thought about Alicia a lot, and I think there are so many explanations for why she may have had the experience that she did. It was kind of funny because Haley was very literal when she was 6. In fact, I used to worry that maybe she was lacking imagination because she was so literal about everything. And so she actually used to tease me a little bit because I had twin imaginary friends when I was pre-K. And I'm an only child, and Haley is as well. And so I just figured she would have imaginary friends, and she just thought it was hysterical that was even a thing. So I knew that. And when she let us know that Alicia was part of her experience, it came as quite a surprise. So I was really fascinated by what she had experienced, and having had imaginary friends myself, it made me really wonder if it was kind of the same sort of situation, or if there was something much more sort of mystical and spiritual about this. While Haley was lost, we really did not leave any stone unturned. And so we contacted psychics. We ended up getting information from dowsers, if anybody's familiar with that are able to kind of divine information or get sort of a spiritual sense of things. And I'm kind of like Haley, that, my spirituality is not really well defined. It's a little less driven by specific religion, and more about just a sense of something greater than myself. And so where I've landed with Alicia is that she was very much real to Haley. She came to Haley when Haley needed her the most. And she was actually in age younger than Haley, which we found to be pretty fascinating. Haley told us that Alicia was 4. And of course, Haley was 6. And so at first I thought that's really strange that she would have assistance from a person that was younger than her. But the way that I looked at this over time was that maybe a 4-year-old is old enough to be helpful and to be good company, but Haley needed to be in control of the situation at some level. And so having an entity that was younger than her still allowed her to kind of have a little bit of control, and but still have good company. So, is Alicia an angel? Is she a spirit? I don't know. I don't know what such an entity is necessarily. I don't disbelieve it. I just don't know what she was. But I could not be more grateful that she was present in whatever form she happened to be. If she's an angel, I'll take it. I think there's no reason to believe that there isn't something out in the world that is unseeable, unknowable, based on our human state. And this was a very benevolent, very kind, helpful spirit of some kind that got Haley through what was probably the darkest thing that she could experience. And I will be grateful for that forever. So to me, Alicia is real. I just don't know what she is or how she came to be there. If it was divine, if her little spirit just existed there because she was a real person, I don't know. But she is real to us, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's pretty much where I'm at. I'm okay with not defining it. I don't think it personally needs to be defined. And I am fine with other people coming to their own conclusions, having their own hypotheses, but like I'm good. I'm good with where I am. Okay, people want to meet my cat. This is Antigone. We call her Tiggy. Let's see, she's what, 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got her between my senior year of high school and freshman year of college. So yeah, I guess she would be about 7. And yeah, she's named after the Greek princess Antigone, because I was and still am really into the classics. So, and she's currently giving herself a bath. So I apologize for that. All right. Yeah. Are there any more questions, or are we good? I'll wait for like a couple minutes, I guess. I just want to say, like, thank you so much for tuning in. I really was not, on December 31st, was not expecting that I would be doing this. But, do I have any plans for a YouTube channel? Not at the moment. Like I mentioned earlier, I am an actor. So, I like telling stories. I've lived a life. I'll say that. I'm 25 and I have lived a life. And I love telling my own stories, but I love even more participating in stories, performing stories of humanity in general. So, yeah, I guess like I don't really have plans for a YouTube channel. I love watching other people's YouTube channels. I'm a big fan of like true crime YouTube. But I don't know that I'm necessarily cut out for it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind. Do you plan on contacting Mr. Ballin? And I commented on the video. I said thank you, and I followed him on Instagram. I don't really know how to get his attention. I don't know how to contact him. I mean, I'm fine with where it's at. Like, if he wants to talk to me, great. I'll talk to him. I don't know. Do you have moments where you have flashbacks? I wouldn't say flashbacks. Like, I don't have dreams about it, really. I don't. I mean, like, I have memories, but I don't, like, it's not like a PTSD situation. Like, I don't have, yeah, I would say no flashbacks. How did Alicia appear when you first realized you were lost? Did she come from behind the trees? She just sort of, just appeared. I don't really have like a solid memory. It was just like 1 minute she was there and the next she wasn't. Or sorry, reverse that. 1 minute she wasn't there and the next she was. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. What did your grandparents do during the time? I guess this is a question for you, for my mom, because I wasn't there.
So Haley was on the hike with my parents and a couple of other friends that were with them. And so when they realized that the situation was dire and that she wasn't just going to show up, they immediately sent word to get in touch with me. And then I got in touch with Haley's dad. They were out there in the midst of the search area from the very beginning. So they were helping to guide anything that was providing assistance when things were first getting started. There, kind of quickly, there became sort of a command center of activity where people that were local to the area, who are used to seeing people get lost in that part of Arkansas, were quick to respond and were coming onto the scene really quickly. So they were present in that situation and trying to give as much information as they could about exactly what happened, what she was wearing, all the details of that. As things progressed and it started getting dark, it was not good. My parents were horrified and so scared and so afraid that I was going to be angry with them or that I wouldn't forgive them for what had happened. And it just happened. So it wasn't a situation of forgiving somebody. It happened. And they're incredibly responsible people. The whole day was planned to take Haley out to enjoy the woods and see the wildflowers. I mean, it was not a situation of neglect or anything like that. So they were just dealing with so many emotions and fear and worry, just like you would expect. my ex-husband, Haley's dad, and I stayed at Tim Ernst's cabin, and then were there as well. And then my parents were in a nearby cabin. It's called the Faddis Cabin, that is in that area of Newton County. And so we were all able to remain very close to the scene throughout the whole entire search. And so they were there and present. They were checking on things, giving information, just whatever they could possibly do. But as you can imagine, it was probably the most harrowing experience that anybody could go through. And we're just all thankful that it turned out okay. And our family is fine and intact, and we all still love each other very much. And so there's no guilt or trauma associated with this. It's just something that happened, and we've moved on, and we're okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this next question, I should have expected that this next question was going to come up, because it did actually come up a lot in the that I was getting on my other video. And I want to be really careful answering this. Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Ballins said something about a girl with a similar name to Alicia passing away in the area. Is that accurate, or is it embellishing? Okay. The thing about this, and I want to respect the privacy of everyone involved. There is a story that I have heard that my mom has told me, my grandmother as well has mentioned over the years, about a little girl passing away in the woods under some pretty horrible circumstances. And I don't really want to go into more detail than that, just out of respect. And there was a part of her name that was similar to Alicia, but not exactly the same. And so, yes, I have heard that theory. And again, just like out of respect, I don't want to go into too much detail on that, because it's a really, really tragic story, and it's not my story to tell. So that's kind of all I want to say on that. And I hope you guys understand. We're upset you didn't get to ride in a helicopter. Me too, but also the more I think about it, I'm very afraid of heights. So me and a helicopter probably doesn't mix. So yeah, this has been going on for almost 40 minutes, which is kind of amazing. I didn't expect to still be here. Is there anything else that you want to say to the people?
So there's another question.
You got another question, yeah.
Oh. I actually love this question, and I've gotten it a lot. People have asked me really since day one of getting back into town after bringing Haley home, that asking if I was unwilling to ever let her out of my. I am just not that kind of parent. I feel like I learned so much about resilience and capability of a tiny little girl that was only in kindergarten, being able to handle herself and keep her cool, that I just never worried about her. I never worried that she was going to wander off, that she was going to be taken from me, because what happened was an accident, and there was not an intentional choice to get lost. And so I knew that she learned a lot from that experience. She probably was not going to wander off in the future. And to me, sometimes people, like, she went to Girl Scout camp just a few months after all of this happened. And, when we took her up to registration and get her all checked in, it was an overnight camp. They asked me, is she going to wander off? And to be honest, I was actually almost insulted by that, because I thought, I don't know. I mean, how do you not understand that this was an accident, that people get lost? It doesn't mean that they are just attempting to lose themselves.
I did not do it for fun.
No, it was not about fun and games. And so I just felt like there was no reason for me to be overly protective, because she had already proven that she could survive for 52 hours all by herself in the deep wilderness and come out of it really pretty unscathed, other than a little dehydration and a few bug bites. So I figured she was going to be fine. She's very smart. She's very capable. And so I just didn't worry. It was definitely more than a blip on the radar, but it also was an indication that she was going to be fine and handling herself.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a wild ride and it was kind of fun. So yeah, I guess I will sign off now. And as always, you can DM me on my Instagram, and I do read the comments on my YouTube video. I don't reply to all of them because I get a little bit overwhelmed sometimes, but I do read them. And yeah, so have a great rest of your Sunday. And yeah, reach out to me if you feel like it. I'm at Haley Zega, very easy to find on Instagram. And I'll see you guys in the future, maybe. Take care.